Hello and welcome to episode 53 of Game Patrol. I'm your host, Landon Plumley, and it is once again a solo bout because Justin had something come up. All good. To be honest, I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to do this episode because I also had plans for today and I didn't think about how it would affect the podcast. But then the weather canceled my plans anyway, so I ended up being free. So I wasn't even sure about how I was going to approach this episode anyway. So, I'm not too upset about it. Definitely just caused a little earthquake for the camera there. Sorry to my video watchers. But how you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I've got some cool things to talk about today. We've got some. It's a slow news week again. We're in the point we had sort of that February into March rush, and now we're kind of in another slow bit. I think COVID's been still affecting game releases. We had a bit of a spring schedule, and yes, we definitely had a packed February. But outside of that, we had some games and then they all got pushed back. Like March was supposed to be a lot bigger than it was, and May was supposed to be the same, and everything just keeps getting pushed back. So it's looking a little more slim than we anticipated. I think it'll be interesting to see how this fall turns out. That's what I'm super curious about because a lot of games have kind of thrown out that holiday 2022 release. We've already gotten Zelda delayed, which completely breaks my heart. And so Ragnarok is like my most anticipated title now. It kind of won that by default, I guess, but it was already number 2, so it was already high up there. And I yeah, it's annoying, but here we are. We got Hogwarts Legacy in the fall. We've got, the same old new Call of Duty, new. We'll see. I don't know if there's a new Assassin's Creed on the horizon or not. I'd say I would assume another year. They seem to be supporting Valhalla pretty well there. Sure, there'll be some stuff up EA's sleeve. I think Dead Space is technically set for this holiday, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong though. They might have pushed it back recently. I don't remember, but yeah, just a lot of stuff to look forward to this fall. We'll see how much of it gets pushed back. Like I said already, we've had Breath of the Wild get pushed back again, and that makes me very sad. But whatever. Anyway, getting into what I've been playing this week. Compared to last week, very, very little. I've been playing a fair bit of Tunic. I put in another 4 hours. So I think last week I had only put in the 1, I think. No, I put in 2. So how have I don't. Yeah. So I put in 3 hours. Because I should have 5 total. Right? 1. No, I should have 6 hours. So I think I put in 2 hours before. Yeah, I put in a couple hours before. Okay, so I put in another 4 this week. I'm just trying to think about it. And I got a little bit stuck. Plus, I got this other game. So for those that don't know, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim was just ported to the Switch yesterday. I pre-ordered it and I have it now. I haven't had the chance to check it out because I was streaming, which that's actually one other game I've been playing that I'll talk to you guys about in a second. For those that don't watch the streams, I completely forgot to think about that. But I was streaming today, so I didn't take a chance to play it, but I'm going to play it tomorrow. I'm super excited because I heard really good stuff about the PS4 version, and I've heard even better things about the Switch version now. So I'm super excited to check that out. Seems like a fun game for me to sink my teeth into, and so I'm taking a bit of a break from Tunic. I super, super love it. It can be a little frustrating at times because I feel like basically the progression in the game is very natural feeling. Again, it's the type of game that doesn't really tell you what to do, but will kind of it'll nudge you in the right direction, if that makes sense. So there's technically no built-in objectives. You just kind of explore the world and do what you need to do to progress. Essentially, you see an obstacle and you're like, okay, well, I can't go that way, so let me try going this way. And eventually you might find something that been like, oh, this now opens up this area to me. Let's explore that area. And like, oh, okay, this actually does something to really progress, my objective in the game, which is essentially just to keep progressing. I mean, there's still not a whole lot known as to what necessarily the end game is, but you're essentially just trying to survive and get somewhere safe, I guess. And so it's finding these ringing bells and getting keys and things like that, just different stuff to progress through the game. And it's very minimalistic, but everything is just sort of articulated damn near perfectly. I was stuck at one thing where I had to get these 3 keys, right? And I found one key just like pretty all right, and then I set off to find the second key, and I was only given with the hint of that it was something along the lines of it was stolen by the sky. And I was like, what the? And I was trying to figure it out, and I was like just exploring, trying to just figure out what's going on here. And it was very difficult for me, and I was definitely wandering around for like 30 minutes all over the map trying to figure out where does this game want me to go now. And I feel like I almost just kind of stumbled upon it as if it were a fluke, but essentially the main aspect of Tunic that I love a lot of times is just using your new abilities on just going around and being like, what can I do this with, and just experimenting. I think experimentation is super, super rewarding in the game because there will likely be some sort of outcome for you, and it's not really all that punishing, so it is pretty accessible for experimentation. While you can die fairly easily in the game, there's not really a whole lot of punishment, and as long as you're playing smart, you shouldn't be too affected by it. But let me tell you, these bosses, man. I'm at the librarian boss right now, which is, I believe, the 3rd boss in the game, if I remember right. Yeah, I want to say he's the 3rd boss that I've fought. And he is just a pain in the butt. I looked at some strategies because I just kind of like rage quit about it. But I looked up some strategies. I'm like, okay, he's probably not that bad. I'm probably just going about it wrong. But I'm like, 13 Sentinels just came. I'm like, okay, I wanna dig into that game. Heard it's really, really good, and I still have a lot of love for Tunic, and I plan on going back to beat it at some point. But for right now, I'm just gonna kind of let that sit there for a little bit. Let my gamerness simmer for a little bit. Play another game. My only thing is that I'm pretty sure 13 Sentinels is a long game, and I only play for like an hour a day, so I feel like that game's going to keep me tied up for a while. Thankfully, there's not really a whole lot coming out right now. Fingers crossed that Nintendo Switch Sports is everything I want and more. But, I've got time, I guess, maybe, but we'll see. But yeah, I've been playing a bunch of Tunic. That's been the main thing. And then I just streamed The Sims 4 last night, and that was pretty freaking dope. The Sims franchise has a special place in my heart, as it does for a lot of people. It's one of the most popular video games in the world. I have a lot of issues with The Sims 4. The Sims 3, I grew up on that. I literally spent a Thanksgiving, instead of talking to my family, just playing The Sims for 8 hours. Like, I spent an entire Thanksgiving one time doing that. So, needless to say, I have a lot of love for The Sims. And there are some fundamental issues with The Sims 4, for instance, like everything being locked behind some loading screen that just really irks me, and they've definitely fixed as much as they possibly could within those confines, but that still leaves the confines there. Like, they're still there, and so I've been waiting forever for a new Sims game because I just want to move on from The Sims 4, but EA refuses to. And, that's whatever. Because there are some things I really like. There's some things that they added to The Sims 4 that I think are really, really good. And I wish, we just kind of had the best of both worlds. And I'm hoping that's what we get with an eventual Sims 5. But I do think it's coming. I think it should have already come, personally. I think we should have gotten it like last year, if not even earlier. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I do think it's coming, though. I think we do need that at least just generational reset. I know it's more of a PC game, but just, so much has changed in the now 8 years since it's been released that I feel like we do need a refresh, and I'm excited to see what they come up with. But anyway, I had a lot of fun playing The Sims 4. We had a bunch of people show up. It was really fun. I made a little hype house with some of my regulars. I made my regular Sims, and so we're all living together, trying to achieve our dreams. It's super fun. I stream every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So if you guys want to come check it out, that'd be super cool. But yeah. So I was playing The Sims and having a lot of fun. It's been a while since I played The Sims, so it was really fun diving back in, especially playing with the community, getting their input, stuff like that. It's a really fun game to stream. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun. So that's pretty much all I've been playing, though. I've been really busy. I've been watching a lot of anime in my free time as well. I caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen, which I cannot recommend enough, and I saw the movie in theaters. And I've been watching My Dress Up Darling. I'm halfway through that. Started Spy Family, which is really good. There's only one episode out right now, but it's a good start. I'm super excited for more. Watching a little bit of Dr. Stone, but not very much. I'm kind of iffy on that. Not that it's a bad show. I think it's a great show. Just not sure if it's the type of show I'm ready to get into right now. Right now, I'm just kind of obsessed with Jujutsu Kaisen, so I'm kind of throwing a little tantrum because I'm all caught up now. So now I'm like, I don't want to watch anything else. So, you get that feeling like when you finish a really good anime or just any show in general, and you're just like, nothing's the same. Like, it's just like I can't find anything else. Like, even though one of my coworkers has been like begging me to watch Demon Slayer, and I've been doing everything I can not to, when literally I'm sure I'll love it. I don't know, for some reason I just don't want to watch it right now. I have plenty of things I could be watching and doing. Like, for instance, like I said, I'm still watching My Dress Up Darling. I'm seeing Everything Everywhere All at Once today at like 1:15. I'm so excited. I'm finally gonna watch this movie, and then I really want to watch The Adam Project and Drive My Car and Turning Red still. I haven't seen that. There's a lot of stuff. Anyway, so yeah, not that there aren't plenty of video games that I want to play. It's just I only have so many hours in the day, and it's a lot easier for me to just collapse in my bed and watch a show or a movie that I've been, recommended or willing or, wanting to watch versus, focusing in on a video game. It's difficult for me, man. But yeah, anyway, Tunic and The Sims. That's about all I've been playing this week. I'll have some variety next week. I'm pretty sure. I think I'll have a little more time. But anyway, so again, it was a bit of a slow week for news. I'm gonna take a drink real quick, and then we'll jump into something a little fantastical, or maybe not. What I mean by that is the announcement of Kingdom Hearts 4, guys. Get excited. Like, I mean, basically, if you care about this, you already knew. This comes as no shock. The Kingdom Hearts fan base is absolutely nuts. And so, I say the whole fantasy, or maybe not, is because they're heavily alluding to the fact that, the previous Kingdom Hearts games weren't real, or they were, like, based in some universe, and that this time Sora is coming to the real world, and that there's going to be this sort of, new, mature, darker look at the franchise. So we didn't get much information, we just got a reveal trailer, right? But the series is 20 years old. I've actually played a little bit of Kingdom Hearts, not very much, like literally maybe like an hour. That's it. And I'm like, man, is this when I should jump in? Is this when I should jump in? But then I'm like, no, because I have zero time and I have all these other games I want to play. But like, at some point, I'm gonna play Kingdom Hearts because I love Final Fantasy. I know I'm gonna like Kingdom Hearts. I just need to force myself to get into it. Although, to be fair, the hour that I did play of Kingdom Hearts, I wasn't a fan of. Like, it had that old video game feel of just clunky gameplay that I didn't want to mess with. And I'm like, I feel like I'm playing this too late to truly appreciate it. I would love to just jump into like Kingdom Hearts 3, but I don't think that's going to work because just the story intimidates the hell out of me, so I feel like I need to play everything in order to get a grasp of what's going on, even though I've heard there are people who've they've played everything and still couldn't tell you anything about the story. So like, it may not necessarily be that important, but the gamer in me needs to play all of them. It's my ADHD talking. It's the same reason that when Devil May Cry 5 came out, I played every single Devil May Cry, because I'd only ever played DMC before that and hadn't even beaten it. I'd seen a YouTube walkthrough all the way, so I know what happens, but I'd never actually beaten it myself. So I had very little Devil May Cry experience, so I played through all of the games instead of just getting 5. Even though 5 is a perfectly fine jumping on point, I don't regret a thing, because a lot of those games are super freaking awesome. Even though, similarly, the first Devil May Cry has some clunky gameplay because it's an old game, but I still very much enjoyed it. So that's probably how I'll feel about Kingdom Hearts if I really gave it a shot, and I want to, because I feel like it's right up my alley, especially when you get to the newer stuff like 3, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, but it got announced. It's super exciting. Hopefully, there'll be some good stuff from it. I don't know. Like, it's exciting for Kingdom Hearts fans. I don't know a whole lot about Kingdom Hearts. It's just, Disney and stuff. There's rumors, like people are saying, oh, we might get Marvel and Star Wars, and I think that's totally possible, especially if they're going for more of the, like, mature tone. I think that's, makes a lot of sense. They're basically, a lot of people are saying, oh, they're turning Kingdom Hearts into Final Fantasy now. They're just going straight at it, and I'm like, yeah, you might be right. You might be right. He's lost the clown shoes. He's got on some Jordans. Like, there's times are a changing for this. Also, good on them for making it fairly quickly after 3, not making us wait another 12 years between 2 and 2 was like 2004, wasn't it? And then 3 was what, 2018 or something? It's like 14, I don't know. So good on them for not making people wait a crap ton of time and releasing like 27 spinoffs, even though there was another spinoff announced during the event. I forget what it was called. It's called Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. I think it's a mobile game if I remember correctly. Let's see. Sorry, I know this is great. Yeah, it's a new iOS Android game that features 3D actions familiar to the mainline series, and a closed beta test is planned for later in 2022. Yeah. So, we'll see. Anyway, there's also, they announced the final chapter of Kingdom Hearts Dark Road that's going to be released in August as a free update to the Kingdom Hearts Union Dark Road app. There we go. So yeah, my Kingdom Hearts fans, you got some new stuff, and it's exciting. And I would love to get into the Kingdom Hearts series if I ever had a moment to breathe. But yeah, so next up, some interesting news. Remedy and Rockstar have announced remakes for Max Payne 1 and 2 for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series S and X, which is crazy because they just so nonchalantly announced it too. Like, a lot of times, especially for something as quote-unquote big as this, they'll usually like announce it with like some game, like a little gameplay trailer or something like that, and it usually is something that is pretty soon coming, right? Like I think about GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, not that it's great because that thing had some issues, but like, I think about things like that, or the Mafia remasters or things like that were, their announcement came with something to look at and things like that. No, but Remedy was just like, yeah, we're working on this with Rockstar. It'll be pretty cool. They said it'll be in line with a typical Remedy AAA game production, and that they're going to use the same game engine that Control and Alan Wake 2 is using. So these are going to be some freaking fantastic looking games. So they look like genuine remakes. It's just curious that it's like they already announced 1 and 2, and then they say they're going to be AAA. So it's like, to be fair, they're fairly small games, so I guess announce both. But like, I'm surprised they didn't just announce the first one, and I'm like, is this going to be like a double pack situation? Like, you can buy them separately, buy them together. Are they going to release at the same time, or are they doing the first one and then they're going to do the second one? I'm curious about the nitty gritties, because they so nonchalantly announced all this, and then we're like, yeah, this is like a full remake and everything, and then they're like, So I don't know. It's interesting. It was a very, in my opinion, bizarre way to announce it, especially when they're working on Alan Wake 2. It's just, yeah, just felt a little bizarre to me. But I'm excited because I played Max Payne 3. I've never played 1 and 2 because they're just not very accessible nowadays. But I played Max Payne 3. It was okay. It was all right. But I love Remedy, and I'm always interested to see whatever it is they can come up with. But this also begs a question, which people have talked about over and over and over again, but I haven't, and I have opinions. So, what other games should be remade? What are the games that you guys want to be remade? I mean, leave it down in the comments below if you want to, discuss it. I'd love to hear it. But I have a few picks personally, and I think some of them are hot picks. For one, I'm younger than a lot of people in the gaming industry right now. I'm sort of like, I feel like I'm the next generation, essentially. So because of that, there's different types of games giving me nostalgia than a lot of people. And so these are games that I want remade, first off. And I'm perfectly fine with a sequel as well. Rock Band. Like, honestly, out of all the ones on my list, this is the one I want the most. I want some sort of Rock Band revival. I'm trying to remember if Rock Band 4... or was it Rock Band 5? What was the last one? I can't remember if it was 4 or 5. I want to say it's 4. But I want a remake of Rock Band. I would like to see sort of like a Rock Band Ultimate where they just combine all of the tracks, like have all the old tracks for the nostalgic feel, or at least a fair amount of them. And then, they can add new tracks or whatever. Because, man, one, it's just so hard to find any of that stuff nowadays. And I get it. Like, I get if you're the developer of Rock Band, you don't want to be stuck making Rock Band games the rest of your life. Like, you want to try out new things, which is why I'm saying to hand it over to somebody else. If Harmonix, which I believe are the developers, don't want to make another Rock Band, then they should just give it to somebody, not just anybody, obviously. I want this to be a quality game, but, give it to somebody else who will then, because I miss Rock Band so much. It's the perfect party game. You just get a bunch of people together, make a band. I'm sort of lumping in Guitar Hero here. I just think Rock Band's more fun because of just the easier cooperative play and more fun cooperativeness of it all versus Guitar Hero, which kind of jumped onto that with the whole world tour thing. But yeah, I would love to see Rock Band come back. I mean, for the simple fact that it's just impossible to find nowadays, like full sets, that sort of thing. So if you don't own it from way back in the day, you're pretty much screwed, which is me. I'm screwed. So I just want to be able to play Rock Band again. That's really the big reason. So I want a Rock Band remake or sequel or something. I just want to see something from Rock Band. Please, for the love of God. I've been pleading for years, but just give me a Rock Band. Please, for the love of God. Like, I honestly think I would cry if, like, at E3, which isn't happening, but, that's just my umbrella term for the summer gaming cycle. Just get an announcement for that. I would cry. Literally. I would cry. I would immediately pre-order. Don't care about the game quality. Just to have it. Just to... God, it would be wonderful. I don't care how much it costs. It could be $200. I'd shell it out. Ugh, God, it'd be amazing. But anyway, Rock Band would be really cool. Another one. This one is a little for my older audience. Not too many people know about it though, and I want it. Resident Evil Code Veronica. God damn it, give me a Code Veronica remake, because that game is good. I've played it. It's actually really good. The story's really good. It's just the gameplay sucks. The gameplay is the old crappy crud. It's the reason I don't like playing the 1 and 0 and all of them either. Like, I wish they did a remake of the remake of 1 as well, but I hate the old gameplay so much. So I just would love to see Code Veronica remake, because the story is really cool. It feels like a stepping point between 3 and 4, because it kind of has a lot of vibes that 4 continues, and so it feels like a good stepping stone. And I really like the story, and there's important story elements in it that it's like, it isn't necessarily a game you should skip. Do you absolutely need to play it to understand the Resident Evil lore? No. But it has cool, interesting stuff about, Resident Evil peppered throughout the story. The story's really good, and I do think it is fun, even if the gameplay is outdated. Like, there is fun to be had in it, and yeah, it feels like, it almost feels like a concept demonstration for Resident Evil 4 in a way. Like, there's definitely some things they introduced there that Resident Evil 4 popularized, even though they were already present in Code Veronica. I just don't think Code Veronica had as big of a fan base, so it just didn't, like, a lot of people didn't know about it. And 4 just, did certain things better. Like, I'm not saying that, 4 isn't the better game, but Code Veronica is still really good in its own right, and it deserves a remake. And, all things are pointing towards Capcom working on a Resident Evil 4 remake, therefore skipping Code Veronica, and that makes me very sad because I think 4 is still a very accessible game. Now, will I take a remake of 4? Absolutely. But I think Code Veronica is just, it needs a remake much more. And Capcom's isn't even necessarily saying no to a remake, because there was that time, I believe it was right around when 3 came out, when they put out a survey asking what should they remake next, and Code Veronica was on that list. Now, I'm just assuming, based on all the 4 rumors, that people wanted 4 more than Code Veronica, and they're obviously going to go with the consumers. But I'm telling you, man, just play Code Veronica. These people, I get it that they do, and like, it's not necessarily impossible that they still don't go back to it. Like, maybe after 4 they do Code Veronica, instead of going to 5 or whatever. And I'm totally cool with that, and I hope that that's what they do. But man, it'd be so good. Remake Code Veronica, Capcom. Come on, like, but that'd be so good. I get so hyped, man. That's an immediate pre-order for me. That's immediate money for me, Capcom. Just saying. But next up on my remakes, this one, if anything, is just so that we can get PC versions of the game. It doesn't even need to be like full remake. But Gears of War 2 and 3. I've went back and tried playing. So I've played 1. I've played bits and pieces of 4. But I've tried to go back and play the old Gears games. I had a lot of fun playing 1 because I played the Ultimate Edition, and I thought it was a really fun game. Then when I started playing 2, it reeked of 360 shooter, and I know that a lot of people wouldn't take that as a bad thing, but for me, they all feel so samey. Like, any 360 shooter I play, and I'm just like, this isn't Black Ops 2. Like, this isn't Modern Warfare 2. This isn't like one of the 3 pinnacle shooters of that generation. Therefore, it has no value to me. And I know that's a minority opinion, and I'm sure I would get canceled for that if, a wide audience actually listened to this podcast. But that's just how I feel. So I just couldn't really get into it. And so I feel like if it was touched up a little bit, if it was tweaked in a similar way of the Ultimate Edition, it's what I've been asking for years. And if anything, just to bring it over to PC, as Xbox has become much more of like a the Xbox service versus the Xbox console. I just love for them to be brought over to PC somehow. And I think Ultimate Editions of 2 and 3, it would be a great way to do that. Just touch it up a little bit, tweak it, make it a little more modern. They don't have to do anything fancy. I'm not talking about like full remakes here, but I would like to see them be revamped a little bit, especially since the Gears franchise has sort of went through this little renaissance. You can do whatever the hell you want with Judgment. I don't care. But 2 and 3, I would like to see touched up. I'd like to see revisited, if anything, for the PC versions. But yeah, so not much else to say about that. That's just a personal thing I'd like to see. Next up, one that I just think would be really good. There's been little rumors about it, but nothing concrete enough for me to truly believe, but I think it's entirely possible. I'd love to see Infamous come back. Whether it be a remake in the sense of like the Max Payne things where the original is just remade, or if it's sort of if it's just like a reboot. I would like to see something kind of in the middle. I would like to see it rebooted, but be like a spiritual remake, kind of in the sense of Resident Evil 2, like kind of like that, maybe a little more like I wouldn't want them to be hindered by the original in any way. Like I want them to take advantage of the technology and how much time has progressed since what 2007 when the first game came out. So I think they can make changes as liberally as they want, but I still want that core aspect of the first game, like even playing as Cole, that sort of thing. But I think we're in this sort of superhero renaissance phase where like we've been getting games like Insomniac Spider-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy and previously the Arkham games, and so superhero games have gotten a huge uptick recently, and I think there is this sort of craving for superhero games that just sort of like the Infamous games were one of the few good superhero games from the 360 like Xbox or the 360 PS3 generation, and I feel like once we got into the PS4 generation it sort of fizzled out, and that's why Second Son didn't really do quite as good even though it was well received. And so I feel like there is this renewed fervor for superhero games, and I feel like a great way to be capitalizing on that would be to bring back the Infamous franchise. And I feel like a reboot or a remake would be a better option than just making another sequel or making another like spin-off type deal, just to reimagine the franchise almost in like a God of War sense. But again, I would go more reboot than soft reboot. I'd just go like hard on it. I wouldn't try to continue it, but I think that would do really good. I think the market would like it, and I think there would be one for it, and I think it would sell really well if it just, because I mean people ate up God of War, and so I feel like bringing back major PlayStation franchises in a grand way would be really good for the brand. I don't know who would helm it because I wouldn't give it to Sucker Punch. I want them to keep focusing on Ghost of Tsushima, like just make a sequel to that game because that game is fantastic. So just y'all keep on that, right? But I would like to see Infamous come back from somebody, maybe Bend. I don't know, like somebody, but I think Infamous should come back. We should get some sort of remake. And then finally, this one, I would much rather just have a sequel, but since I don't think that's going to happen, I would rather just see another developer take a spin with it, and that's Deus Ex. I want to see some sort of return from that franchise because I think Mankind Divided is such an underrated game. For one, the game's freaking beautiful. It still makes PCs cry, and it's 7 years old. And it's still pushing PCs to the limit. I mean, it's just a jaw-droppingly gorgeous game. And I thought it was really fun. It might not have necessarily reinvented the formula in any way, but it did a lot of good stuff, and I thought it was a super fun game. It got a lot more hate than it needed to, and I don't really understand where most of it came from. But, it's fine. It's whatever. I'm going to take a drink here, but the franchise deserves better. In comparison, I wasn't the biggest fan of Human Revolution, so I like Mankind Divided a lot better. So I'd love to see more of that franchise. I think it's really cool. It was basically, they did what Cyberpunk tried to do, just like a few years earlier. And so I feel like Cyberpunk is sort of, that void. It's filling that Deus Ex void, but, obviously that game has issues of its own. So I'd love to see Deus Ex come back. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are staying away from the Cyberpunk genre after all of that happened, but I personally would like to see it. That's just kind of, something I'd like to see. It's just me talking about Deus Ex, I won't be too butthurt if it doesn't come back. I just think it would be cool. Just me personally, I think it would be cool. But, who am I? I'm just a dude talking into a microphone. But, yeah, so, I don't know. Do you guys like my picks? What do you guys think? Like I said, let's have a discussion down in the comments. What remakes do you want? I know there is a rabid fan base wanting a Legacy of Kain remake. That's before my time, but pop off. technically the Skywalker saga is a remake of the the old Lego Star Wars games, and that's been doing really well. Um, but yeah, what kind of remakes do you guys want to see? Those are just some of my picks. But anyway, let's get into the games coming this week. Again, it's going to be a bit of a shorter episode because it's the slow week, man. Like we're in a bit of a drought, and so that's why I've been kind of catching up on playing older games and that sort of thing, because there's not a whole lot to play right now, and that's okay. But not really anything coming out this week. Biggest thing of note, Nobody Saves the World is coming to PlayStation and Switch tomorrow, both PS5 and PS4. Yeah, it came out in January for Xbox and PC and was apparently really good. It's not something I personally checked out myself, but it got good reviews. So now even more people will be able to play it starting tomorrow. And with that pretty much wraps up my time. I don't really have a whole lot to talk about. Like I said, it was a slow week for gaming, but that's okay because we got bombarded. I still haven't beaten Elden Ring. I want to go back and get it, but it's just I'll eventually get there. Like I said, I just don't have a lot of time right now, and there's a lot of video games out there that I really want to be able to devote time to, but it's a lot. So I've just been dipping my toes into a lot of different games, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully Justin will be able to make it back with us next week. Fingers crossed. Pray for Justin to return next week so we have a little, some people to bounce off of. But until then, thank you guys for listening or watching or however it is that you're, enjoying this content. Hopefully you are enjoying it. If you're not, let me know. I'm always down to learn and to grow with you guys, because this podcast is my baby. It's been going on for over 2 years now. Obviously it's been on and off and on and off, but I'm hoping to finally have some consistency here and really, grow this platform, because it's what I love to do. It is my passion. It's my baby, and I love it a lot. This podcast, YouTube, Twitch, this whole thing, it's super, super fun. It's what I enjoy, and I love sharing things with you guys. So, let me know. Any sort of feedback is greatly appreciated. But until then, I will see you guys next week. Bye.